We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Alhamdulillah, it is the 28th of Ramadan. Tonight will be the 29th. Inshallah, some of us may be celebrating Eid on Thursday, but most likely we'll be going on towards the weekend. But not long left now, and inshallah, may Allah accept all of your amal and all of your hajat during this holy, blessed month. This is a live show where we do take in your questions, so if you have any questions you'd like to ask, please send it via the WhatsApp, the email address. If you're watching on social media, Facebook or YouTube, put it in the comment section. Or give us a call here in the studio, 0203 515 0199. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer any of your queries. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah, fine.
MashaAllah. Sheikhna, it's Ramadan, and a lot of us are in a very festive and very celebratory mood, but we have had bad news. And my first question to you, Sheikhna, is what can be said with regards to the terrorist bombings that had targeted innocent civilians in Afghanistan's capital, Kabul? A suicide bomber stormed in the Sayyidah Shuhada School for Girls, which resulted in the martyrdom of more than 40 students and wounding of dozens of others.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. Initially, we pay the aza and the condolences to the families of the victims, innocent girls, innocent children, to be killed in this vicious way. May Allah protect the rest of the families and those loved ones of those families, and may Allah give them the sabr and patience in such a difficult time. Especially they want to celebrate the Eid, and now they have to commemorate and do the aza on the loss of their children, sadly. Of course, this issue did not start just after 2003, the collapse of the Iraqi regime, or just after the collapse of the regime in Afghanistan, the previous regime, in 2001 and 2 afterwards. It began on the first day of the demise of the Prophet of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he left this world. And in the name of the Khilafah, so-called Khilafah, they came and attacked the door of Fatima and Ali alayhim salam, and eventually wounded Fatima alayhi salam and killed their baby Mohsin salamullah alayhi. So those attacks has a prolonged history since 14th century ago. Didn't start just because of a political issue and dilemma. It began 14th century ago. Sadly, in the name of Islam, in the name of representing Islam and the Holy Prophet and Quran, sadly. And then all the way down to the event of Karbala, in which they killed Imam Hussein and his infant as well, Ali Asghar or Abdullah al-Radi'. Yes. They killed their innocent children of this Imam alayhi salam. And then you go further to the life of Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. They killed their children, Sadat. Yes. From Imam Hassan's sons, the other sons of the Imams, Imam al-Kadhim's sons, and so forth. All the way they followed and pursued the Imam's sons and grandsons around the region of Iraq and Iran. That's why we have what is known as Imam Zadeh. In other words, the sons of the Imams, in which they had to run for their life in the mountains of Iran, in mountains of other parts of the Islamic world, and they had to face either execution and death, or to die naturally as a result. So this has a prolonged history sadly. And today, although we have the international news and the international community and the UN and all those organizations of human rights,
Yes.
it seems to be that there's some kind of, paying no attention or care towards the Shia civilians who are being killed between now and other days. So they have to also pay attention that they are human beings like them, because at the end of the day, if you don't care about those people who are being killed just because of their race or color or ethnicity or religion or faith, then they're going to come to you one day. The same terrorism, the same killings would come in somehow, and it came. We saw what happened in 9/11 in New York, what happened in 7/7 in London. So unless we stop these acts by putting pressure on the governments of that country to eradicate and to stop those terrorists to continue with their agenda of killing innocent people, otherwise things will continue sadly. And I think pandemic was, more than a problem that we faced.
Yes.
So we have to, work on this issue internationally.
Indeed.
And to ask for more pressure on those governments in which they harbor in somehow those terrorists and organizations, to eradicate them and minimize their strength and power.
I sent our thoughts and our du'as with all the families that had lost any of the daughters and nieces from that problem. Shaykhna, if a person observes a mustahab fast, is it mandatory for them to complete the fast until the time of Maghrib?
The mustahab fast, as you have the name on it, it's a desirable and encouraged fast. It's not wajib. And not wajib to keep this fast till Maghrib time. However, if a mu'min believer came forward and he wanted to break your fast, let's say he wanted to invite you for a breakfast or a lunch, then it's mustahab to respond and accept his invitation and to break your fast, and you'll get inshallah the reward as well.
Inshallah.
Let's say one of the days of Sha'ban or Rajab.
Yes.
So yes, you can break it, especially if somebody invited you for breaking the fast. It's a mustahab fast, then of course you can, and inshallah you'll get the reward as well.
Shaykhna, what time or what is the best time of the declaration of the intention of a mustahab fast?
The mustahab fast intention begins from the night before, until just before the sunset of the following day. So you have all that time to make the intention.
Yes.
Unlike the holy month of Ramadan, before dawn, before Fajr. So let's say if you haven't ate anything on that particular day, and there was only, let's say, 20 minutes or half an hour before Maghrib Adhan.
Yes.
You can declare your intention and be as a person who's fasting mustahab, and inshallah will be accepted. It's not necessarily to be a night before or before the Fajr, for the mustahab.
Shaykhna, according to his eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, is the mother allowed to abort the fetus if she does not want it while the soul has not yet entered into it, and there is no serious danger to the mother's life?
The Sayyid mentions that she's not allowed to do that, except if the pregnancy and its continuation of the pregnancy would cause a severe harm, a difficult harm to the life of the mother, in terms of keeping this pregnancy in somehow, or its unbearable difficulty in somehow. There could be some kind of organ failure as a result, for example.
Yes.
So in this case, she is allowed to basically miscarry this child if it was before the soul entering the fetus.
Okay.
Because there's another hukum with regards to when you have the child with the ruh, with the soul. So let's say up to 4 months max. Otherwise, after 4 months, there's another hukum that needs to be observed. But for now, if there's a severe harm, then she can. Otherwise, it's not permissible at all in Islam.
I understand.
To miscarry the child.
Shaykhna, is the salah of Eid al-Fitr mandatory?
The salah of the Eid al-Fitr in the time of the Ma'soom alayhi salam is mandatory, of course,
Okay.
with all conditions of Salatul Eid in overall. However, in the time of the occultation of the Imam Az-Zaman Ajjallah Farajahu al-Sharif, then it's mustahab to be performed either individually or in jama'ah.
Okay.
So it's up to you. You can attend.
And what is the time for the Eid Salah? When should it be performed?
The Eid Salah begins from the sunrise till the midday, to the noon adhan. So that's the timing with regards to the one who wants to perform the Salatul Eid.
Okay. Sheikh, and are there any adhan or aqama prior to the Eid Salah? According to his eminence, the Grand Ayatollah says Sistani.
No, there's no adhan or iqama at all in the Salatul Eid, except the muaddin or the imam would say and say this loudly, as-salah, as-salah, as-salah 3 times. So calling the believers to come and join the salah.
A question from one of the viewers, and that is, how should we perform the Eid Salah?
Basically, the Eid Salah is to make the intention of praying Salatul Eid, 2 rak'ah.
Yes.
You have on the first rak'ah 5 takbirah.
Yes. Qunut as well.
Which is the qunut as well with it. So after Surah Al-Hamd and Surah, let's say, Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, or desirable surah, with this regard, to do the takbirah, and then you recite the dua, Allahumma ahl al-kibriyai wal-'azama, to the end of the dua.
Famous dua.
The famous dua, exactly. After the 5th takbirah, of course, you end the qunut, and then you go towards the ruku' and sujood. You then get up for the next rak'ah, second rak'ah.
Yes.
This time you perform only 4 takbirah.
Qunut.
Exactly.
4 qunut.
4. Again, Allahumma ahl al-kibriyai wal-'azama, to the end of the dua. Again, you go to the ruku' and sujood, and you end the salah. And then you have 2 khutbah after the salah, unlike the Jum'ah prayer. You have the 2 khutbah, 2 sermons after the salah of Eid.
Okay.
So the Imam would break between these 2 khutbah by sitting on the floor and then getting up again and then resuming the second.
So with the khutbah, is this mandatory? Is this part of the whole salah and the whole ritual? And furthermore, is it done the same way that the 2 Jummah khutbahs are done?
You see, basically, as I've mentioned, Salatul Eid is mustahab in overall. So you can attend just the salah and ignore the khutbah, for example. I mean, in overall, it's a mustahab salah. Unlike Salatul Jum'ah. Jum'ah prayer, you have to attend the khutbah and the salah itself. And as I've said, the difference is the 2 khutbah of the Eid, they are after the salah. Unlike the khutbah of the Jum'ah prayer.
I see. Excellent. Shaykhna, is it permissible to perform Salatul Eid on occasions of the holy Eid al-Ghadir? If it is, how should it be performed? Is it performed in the same way Salah is performed from the Eids of Al-Fitr and Adha?
Yes, according to Ayatollah Shirazi, he would mention that it is mustahab to basically perform the Salatul Eid in the day of Ghadir. Exactly the same way as we do for Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. So yes, it is allowed. You do the same thing because it's Eid, part of the Eid. The Ayad are, as mentioned, Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Ghadir as well.
Yes.
So yes, you can pray. Maybe there are some opinions would not be with this opinion, for example. But in overall, it's a amal in which some maraja would allow it in terms of being as part of the Eid. Why not?
Sure.
So you can perform the Salat Eid on the day of Ghadir.
Shaykhna, who is obliged to give Zakat al-Fitr? A question from one of our viewers. Who is obliged to give Zakat al-Fitr?
For everyone who is in the age of adolescence, he is sane, he is not enslaved to anyone, he is not poor, is wajib and mandatory upon him to give the Zakat al-Fitr just on the eve of the Eid al-Fitr. So on the eve of the Eid, he takes out the amount of zakat, prepare it, and just give it before he goes to the Salat al-Eid the next morning. So take it out evening before and give it just before Salat al-Eid.
Who's exempted from it though, from the Zakat al-Fitr?
Those who are exempted from the Zakat al-Fitr, those who have no business or no income. There's no annual income in their account, in their pockets, basically, where they are masakeen, they are poor. Let's say widows with their children, orphans. They don't have any source of income, and if they have, it's just to cover their cost of food and drink and clothing. So they deserve to be given zakat al-fitra because of not having an income, an annual income, in which can fulfill all the needs for the rest of the year.
Is it mandatory to give the fitrah on behalf of whoever is considered to be one's dependents, or do they have to pay by themselves?
Basically, it's wajib to give the zakat al-fitra on those who are dependents on this individual, be it a Muslim or non-Muslim. Sometimes you might have, let's say, somebody who works for you, let's say in the Gulf, they have servants from different parts of the world, and some servants are not Muslims. So yes, they have to still give the fitrah on behalf of them because they are dependent on this individual, on this man who runs this house or this place. Ala kulli hal. So they are dependent on this individual. So yes, the one should give zakat al-fitra, even if you have a son or a daughter who lives abroad and studies abroad, let's say, and you pay for the cost of the tuition fees and rents and so forth, you have to pay their zakat al-fitra, although they are miles away from home. But because they're dependent on you, then you have to pay the zakat al-fitra.
A question from one of the viewers, and that is it permissible to pay zakat al-fitra before the eve of Eid?
Yes, it is permissible, but the intention must be made on the eve of the Eid, that you are taking this, you give me this as a zakat on the eve of the Eid. And it's better not to give before the eve of the Eid. So try to keep it aside with no intention. But when it comes the Eid day or let's say the evening of the Eid, make the intention and pay the zakat afterwards.
Shaykhna, if a child is born after sunset on the eve of Eid al-Fitr, or if one becomes one's dependent after the sunset, is it mandatory to give zakat al-Fitr on their behalf?
Because the child was born after the sunset of the Eid, or somebody came to stay in that house and become dependent after the sunset, then it's not obligatory to pay his zakat, no. Or that's mustahab to pay in overall. Zakat is, in overall, is some kind of sadaqah. You're paying sadaqah to protect your body from any harm in future, for example, to protect your wealth, to purify yourself. So the zakat is there for the purpose of purification and protection. So why not pay? Even try to pay more. Some people try to ask, how much is it exactly? So I pay exactly, let's say £5 and 48 pence, for example. No, pay more. Why not? Especially if you have, mashallah, if you're from the family in which Allah gave you the sustenance and the rizq, pay more. Pay £10 each, £20 each. Why not? There are people who are in need of these few pound coins to spend on their daily necessities like food and drink and clothing. So why not?
Excellent. Shaykhna, someone lives in a non-Shia region. Can he give his zakat to the poor Sunni Muslims?
You see, it's permissible to give the zakat al-fitra when there are no poor Shia available, like the scenario of this brother or sister. Then you can give it to the mustad'af, those who are weak, the weak ones in faith. People who never knew about Ahlulbayt. You have some mustad'af, poor individuals, they never knew about even what religion is. If you ask him who is the daughter of Rasulullah, he would never know. So there are mustad'af, weak individuals about faith and religion. Yes, you can give it to them, but not to the Nasibi, not to the one who is enemy of Ahlulbayt.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Shaykhna, and thank you to all the viewers for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. Inshallah, myself and the Shaykh will be back tomorrow for another episode. If you have a question you'd like to ask, please send in your questions via the WhatsApp, the email address. If you're watching via YouTube or via Facebook Live, send in your questions in the comment section, and inshallah, the team behind will be able to send all of the questions to us and we'll be able to discuss and answer all of your queries, inshallah. Myself and the Sheikh will be back tomorrow 6 p.m. here on Imam Hussein TV 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.